There are temptations in life that are hard to resist, and we have all fallen for some at one time or another in our lives. In this video we will see 9 temptations that could be particularly dangerous, so be alert. As always, if you like the video, after watching it I kindly ask you to give a thumb up and share it if you have any friends who tend to fall frequently into some of these temptations. Let's get started. 1. Study a lot, but without ever taking action. We live in an era where all the information we need can easily be retrieved online, and that is great. The internet is the so-called great equalizer that gives everyone the same opportunities to study and learn about new topics, and that is great too. There is a problem, however, which is that this overabundance of information can lead us into the temptation to study a little more topic in depth, but never putting what we have learned into practice. If, for example, you have read 100 books on personal finance and investments, but you have not yet invested a single dollar or euro, and you think that reading another book on the topic is a good idea, well, I have bad news for you. It doesn't work this way. Another example, I really appreciate you watching the videos on this channel, but in general, whether it's YouTube videos, books on personal growth, finance, business or whatever, remember that practice will always be better than theory. Studying is fine, but then where you really learn is when the concepts learned are put into practice, more often than not making mistakes along the way, until by continuing to practice you really improve and master the craft. This applies to everything. If you want to learn to dance salsa, for example, you can watch 1,000 YouTube videos or even take 1,000 live classes in which you are taught a different routine each time. But I assure you that if after finishing the class you go home immediately, without practicing what the teacher just taught you, you will not learn. The reason for this is that our brains have a limited memory, and practicing is the best way to remember and make the knowledge we have acquired become our own, so we can then apply it spontaneously, almost without even having to think about it. So mind you, studying is fine, but limiting ourselves to theory is almost wasting time. After all, none of us study for the theory driving test, if he has no intention of eventually driving a car. 2. Easy money. This is one of the most common temptations among younger people, partly because of the influence that social media and the opinion of peers have on them. They see a young influencer post photos on Instagram of him driving a Lamborghini and they want to be like him. So they look for the magic formula to get rich quick, and inevitably get disappointed. They then move on to the next big project that, this time, will really make them a ton of money in just a few months, but guess what happens? Absolutely nothing. And so on and so forth in repeat. The risk is to jump from one business venture to another with no results, and to arrive at 30 or 40 years of age with no tangible work experience, and only superficial knowledge with mediocre results in various fields. The epilogue is to end up doing a job they hate, complaining about being underpaid, despite not having the skills or experience to be valued as much as they actually believe they are worth, without realizing that on the market they are not worth even a fraction of what they believe they are. Am I saying that there is no such thing as easy money? Actually not, but in almost all cases those who got rich quickly did not do so by spending time dreaming about how they would spend the money they would one day earn, but rather working as effectively and efficiently as possible in order to make sure that they could build a successful business. The focus should be on the process to achieve a goal, consisting of tangible and measurable actions, not simply being in a hurry to reach the end goal. 3. Choose the easy way and not the best way. If a job is very simple, usually it has a very low barrier of entry, meaning that it is easy to replicate and that offers no protection in the future. That's why there is no such thing as an easy way to make a lot of money in the long term. If it's easy, the competition will soon be fierce. In life we will often be faced with choices and will be tempted to choose what seems easiest, but more often than not these choices will prove to be the worst in the long run. As a rule of thumb, what has a low entry barrier in the beginning will bring more difficulties later. What, on the other hand, has a high barrier of entry at the beginning, will lead to an easier path later. 4. Seeking fame at any cost. This is also probably a more common point among young people. One of the problems today is wanting to become famous at any cost, for no particular merit. By now, the number of followers one has on social almost determines one's social status. And for goodness sake, let's be clear, if a person manages to monetize heavily on Instagram, TikTok, or OnlyFans, I don't see why back out if that's what they really want to do. My advice, however, is to think twice about how these choices will affect the next 10, 20, 30 years of one's life, since once your image is on the web and shared with the world, you can never go back. If you seek fame at all costs just to be known and admired by your peers, always think about the possible consequences of your choices on your future. 5. Putting things off. It is easy to fall into temptation and put off the difficult or boring tasks. After all, why would we want to do today what we could do tomorrow? The problem is that by doing so we risk wasting time, or worse yet, never getting started on what we really want to do, out of simple laziness. Be mindful, your time is limited, don't waste it. 6. Acting selfishly and cowardly. A dash of selfishness in life does no harm, but when taken to the extreme, an act that some may see as simple selfishness risks becoming an act of outright cowardice. This is a behavior that weak men or women often fall into. People who have never had a modicum of power in their lives, and therefore when they suddenly get some, they do not know how to use it. And when you give these people a modicum of authority, perhaps within a community or even within their own families, they may use it to prevaricate over others in order to satisfy their own personal interests. An easy path to follow, but ethically disreputable. 7. Cheating on your partner. This is probably one of the most common temptations, to cheat on someone you love just to satisfy a temporary pleasure or physical need. Needless to say, risk hurting and losing forever someone you really love for a fling is most likely not worth it. Then again, if you get a chance with Scarlett Johansson or Jennifer Lawrence, then maybe it is worth it after all. I am just kidding, of course. 8. Avoiding taking responsibility. There are two ways to face problematic situations: avoid them or deal with them. However, there are cases in which the first choice, namely avoidance, is not a plausible option. In those cases, one must know how to step up, take ownership of the situation and, as difficult as it may be in some cases, face the problem at hand and take responsibility for it. As kids we live a carefree life, but as we grow up we should learn to become responsible for ourselves, and later for our family and those around us. The older we get, the more responsibility we will have. And although playing hide and seek in the face of difficult choices may tempt us, the reality is that until we have faced our problems and faced our fears, they will stay with us forever. 9. Sacrificing oneself to be accepted. For most people, being accepted by others is a priority, especially among younger people. In order to be accepted by a group, many are even willing to sacrifice their own identity, who they are and what they truly believe in, but this is where the problem arises. There is a big difference between becoming a different person by choice, for example by following a path of personal growth, and to pretend to be who you are not in order to be accepted by others. The truth, however, is that one cannot hide behind a mask for all his life. Sooner or later our true selves will always come to the surface. Don't lie to yourself or others, and don't change to make someone happy, especially if that someone is not even someone who really loves you. Now tell me, which of these temptations is the one you have the hardest time resisting? Let me know yours by leaving a comment. That's all for today. If you liked this video, I recommend the video titled, The Ultimate Guide to Live a Miserable Life, 7 Proven Steps, which you can find on this channel. Thank you for watching, and be sure to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell if you have not already done so. Have a great day.